What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. It is time for week 35 Premier League predictions. Last week we absolutely smashed it. We got all but one correct tip, and even when we got the tip wrong, it was the Chelsea-Everton game, and we did predict that Chelsea would win by 1 goal. So a very, very good week. Nottingham Forest and Brentford play tonight, and we did predict 2-1 to them there with the tip of both teams to score, if that interests you. But now it's time for the next game week, which starts tomorrow. Here are the winning accumulators we had on the last week, and off the back of those good Premier League tips, as I said, we created a massive 50+1 fourfold. You can pause and look at this if you want to get involved, and here are the correct scores we've tipped. I want to say a massive shout out to all of you for the support over here on YouTube. Here are the new members that have joined us over here since I last shouted all of the new members out in a video, and flashing up on the screen are all of the people that have joined the Patreon and are supporting the channel. Shout out to Avid Rice Eater who joined the Patreon as well. I thought that name was particularly funny. If you want to get a shout out in every single video, access to the group chats, exclusive members tips and accumulators, and direct messaging access to me, then feel free to click that top link down below and join the Patreon. There are picks up for today's games in the Europa League, the Conference League, everything like that if you want to get involved. So like I said, click that top link and see for yourself. With that being said, it is time to crack on with the Premier League. Leave your predictions down in the comments below and subscribe to join us on the road to 40,000 subscribers. The first game, we have Manchester City up against Wolves. Now, I do think Man City are heavy favourites, despite Wolves being in brilliant form, the best form in the league, probably the best form in Europe if you take a look at it, because they're not losing any games, they're not drawing any games, they are well and truly climbing up the table, and perhaps there's a bit of optimism surrounding Wolves now and their next season, because it wasn't that long ago when they were in the conversation with Ipswich as to who would stay up and not be and be relegated, and Wolves massively blew them out of the water. They've leapfrogged West Ham, Tottenham. They're looking really, really good. I just don't think they're going to be able to beat Man City, a team who has something to play for, that being a Champions League spot, a little bit of pride, and they still want to climb as high up the table as they possibly can. So I'm going to go for a Manchester City 2-0 win, and I am confident enough. The odds aren't good for a Man City win, so I'm going to tip Man City -1 handicap at 1.9. Following this, we have Aston Villa up against Fulham. We correctly predicted that Fulham would beat Southampton 2-1 last week, and it was our highest odds tip of Fulham and both teams to score at 3.25. I did not, however, see Aston Villa getting absolutely battered in the FA Cup semi-final by Crystal Palace. Villa, they need to win. If they're going to get a Champions League spot, they need to win this game. I'm going to say Aston Villa win it 3-1. Their form at Villa Park is absolutely stellar, and I don't think Fulham will have enough to upset the party here for Unai Emery and his team. So I'm going to say that 3-1. And the tip, my highest odds value tip of the week, Aston Villa and both teams to score at 3.4. Following that, we have Everton up against Ipswich, one of the last games at Goodison Park. I think they're going to give their fans something to cheer about. Not too many things to cheer about. I think it's going to be low scoring. I don't think there will be any sort of upset here. I'm going to say Everton win this one 1-0. And the tip to bring the odds of an Everton win up from 1.5 to 2.05 is going to be Everton and under 3.5 goals. I could see Everton winning this 3-0. I just don't think there'll be 4 or more goals. So I'm going to say Everton and under 3.5 goals at 2.05. After this, it's the battle of the championship. Leicester taking on Southampton. It's just for pride at this point, isn't it? Southampton, if they get a point, they surpass Derby's abysmal points record, and I think they can do it. And if they're going to do it, it's going to be against Leicester. I don't think they're going to win. I think it's just going to be a high-scoring, sort of a fun game, because every fan that goes to this game will go to this game knowing that they're relegated, so they're not going to be down in spirits about that. They just want to see an entertaining, exciting game of football, and there's that little edge knowing that these two teams will be competing for promotion next year in the championship. So I think it's actually going to be quite an exciting game, a high-octane atmosphere, and I think that will lend itself to a high-scoring game. I'm going to go 2-2. The tip is going to be both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at 1.95. After this, we have Arsenal up against Bournemouth. Bournemouth chasing what I hope is a Europa Conference League spot for them. Do they get a result here? I definitely think Bournemouth could win. Arsenal have to prepare for a trip to Paris, and I have no idea how this one's going to go. You know what? I was originally going to tip an Arsenal win. I wasn't going to tip an Arsenal win. I was going to go 2-1 to Arsenal, but the Champions League semi-final against Paris Saint-Germain is paramount. And the thing is, Arsenal were dominated by PSG, certainly in the first half an hour and the final 10 minutes. So I think they can take a lot of confidence to Paris in the sense they did not have their best team. Paris Saint-Germain had everyone available, no injuries, no weaknesses. Arsenal were missing Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, Jorginho as a replacement for Thomas Partey, Calafiori, who else? Gabriel, absolutely massive. Arsenal had so many absentees that meant they weren't at their best. They were dominated by PSG and they only lost 1-0. And if not from a slight offside, it could have been 1-1, it could have been more. If not for Donnarumma being an absolute giant, it could have been more. So I think Arsenal can take confidence going to Paris, knowing that all they have to do is win. Easier said than done, but Nice just went to Paris and beat them by 2 goals. Arsenal are not out of the Champions League yet, but they need to make sure they don't suffer any losses against Bournemouth. So instead of the win, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. The tip is going to be both teams to score at 1.75. You know what? I would absolutely, I'm sure every Arsenal fan would take this. Give Bournemouth the win as long as, you know, let Arsenal progress to the Champions League final. And I think they'd be very happy with that. I'd be very happy with that. And I'd be happy to see Bournemouth win because Bournemouth are my local team. So I think Arsenal will go 1-1, but they really need to take confidence going into that second leg rather than being down about losing, because it could have been 2 or 3 and that does look insurmountable. But even with so many absentees, I think if Arsenal had their best team, if they had Raya, Timber, Gabriel, Saliba, Calafiori, and then Odegaard, Rice, Partey, Martinelli, Saka, maybe Marino up top, maybe Gabriel Jesus at top. If we fielded that 11, I don't think we'd be eliminated by PSG in the Champions League. I'm not sure we'd be able to beat Barcelona or Inter Milan in the final. They look very good, but I don't think we'd be eliminated by PSG. But anyway, Champions League chat is over. I hope Arsenal get through. There's still a chance. They were dominated and they only lost by 1 goal. That says something. Now, after this, we move on to Brentford up against Manchester United. Man United will be in the throes of a very difficult Europa League tie against Athletic Bilbao. Man United, the only team unbeaten in Europe this season across all 3 competitions, the Champions League, Europa and Conference League, but having an absolutely abysmal season in the Premier League. And they really don't need to win here. And just like when they had the Europa League against Lyon to focus on, and I tipped Man United +2 and both teams to score, and they ended up drawing 1-1. I'm going to say that Brentford win this one at home 2-1, but the tip is going to be Man United +2 and both teams to score at 2.15. I think Man United can get a goal at the very least, and I don't see Brentford winning by 2 or more goals. So at odds of above evens, I really, really like it. And Brentford are heavy odds-on favourites to win this game, and I just don't think the difference in quality is that much. Even though Man United, their whole season rests on the tie against Bilbao, I don't think they'll be disgraced here. And I think it's going to be a close game. Now, after this, we have Brighton up against Newcastle. I love the odds for this one. Brighton, they're basically out of the European spots, aren't they? I don't think they're going to be able to come back. Their recent form is just not good enough. They did get the win and both teams score against West Ham like we predicted, but Newcastle are a different beast. We tipped Newcastle -2 against Ipswich. They covered that handicap with a nice little 3-0. I think they win here. I'll give Brighton a couple of goals, but ultimately Newcastle are going to win. I'm going to say 3-2, and the tip is Newcastle to win at 2.3. That way you don't need to worry about a goal line, anything like that, but Newcastle to win at above evens, that's phenomenal. That's my 3rd highest value tip of the week, and it's just an outright win for a team that are on electric form. Now, after this, it's West Ham up against Tottenham. Tottenham will have their eye on their tie against Bodo Glimt. I know Bodo Glimt are having an absolute dream run, and they've not had an easy run to the semi-final by any means, but they do have the caveat of their sort of, I don't want to say AstroTurf home ground, but their unique home ground that they are very well acquainted with that opposition teams are not. Tottenham are going to absolutely batter Bodo Glimt tonight. Mark my words. If they don't win by 2 or more goals, I will be shocked. I think 3-1 is a generous estimate. That being said, they do need to make sure they don't get beaten in the second leg. They need to make sure they qualify to the final. So I could see them dropping points here. I was very, very close to going for a West Ham win, but West Ham themselves haven't been on good form either. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. The tip is over 2.5 goals at 1.57. Tottenham just need to make sure they get to the Europa League final. I think they will, but that should be off the back of a heavy win tonight, 2 hours after this video that you're watching is uploaded. If they don't beat Bodo Glimt, I will be stunned. Now, moving on, after this, we have Chelsea up against Liverpool. Liverpool, will get the guard of honour at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea chasing a Champions League spot. Chelsea 2.1 favourites to win this game. I think Liverpool double chance is a very strong contender here. I don't know how this is going to go though. Liverpool, they're just chasing points at this point. They've won the league. Chelsea really need a result. So I think that cancels it out. Chelsea's need to win. Liverpool's higher quality cancels out. I'm going to go 1-1 draw. The tip is both teams score at 1.5, but Liverpool double chance is higher odds than that. So maybe look at that. It's probably about 1.72. I think that is a really good shout. I don't know if Chelsea are good enough to beat Liverpool. So 1-1, both teams score at 1.5. And the final game, it's Crystal Palace up against Nottingham Forest. Crystal Palace have the FA Cup final with their eye on that. They can't get relegated. They can't get Europe. So they're just going to finish in the middle of the table again. They don't want to lose anyone. Nottingham Forest should win this game, but Palace have been so good. I'm going to give them respect and go for a 1-1 draw. And the tip is going to be both teams to score and under 3.5 goals. That's 1-1, 2-1 either way. I think Nottingham Forest's good defence can stifle Crystal Palace a little bit, and they will be able to cancel each other out. But that is going to do it for the Premier League Week 35 predictions. There's a lot of exciting fixtures here. I've actually got all teams to score apart from Ipswich and Wolves away from home. So do with that what you will. I'm very excited. Leave your predictions down in the comments below. Drop a like, subscribe to join us on the road to 40,000 subscribers, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.